It's David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be doing a retrospective on the Dragonriders of Mu, my first online RPG campaign. It was not streamed onto the channel because I was not tech savvy enough to figure it out, and I hear you laughing at me because now that I know how, it's unbelievably easy, but I didn't know how then. So this was using the Pathfinder rule set. That caused problems. We mitigated those problems to some degree, but overall it was still a very, very high level campaign. Excellent role playing, excellent storytelling, and I'm going to run through what I learned and what I saw so that you can learn by my experience. Plus 2 XP, not 1, but 2. So I'll give you the premise of the campaign. I said to all my players, make a level 1 character. You're going to be a noble house together. And you're going to be 7 years old. You're going to be a young little guy, little girl. And in our first session, your parents, who are knights that ride dragons rather than horses. In our first session at 7 years old, you will be going into the dragon's den. The eggs will be hatching. And hopefully you'll be imprinting upon one of these dragons. You'll get your own baby dragon. And with each session, we're going to skip 7 years. Session 2, you'll be 14. Session 3, you'll be 21. Session 4, you'll be 28. Session 5, you do the math. And on till your character is decrepit and old. And with each time skip, your dragon will get one size category bigger, approximately. It's actually age categories. It's part of the reason I chose Pathfinder is they do have all the draconic age categories. So that was the pitch. Game of Thrones, riding dragons, we're the Targaryens. We're going to tell the story of the family, the story of your character's whole life, the story of your nation in their struggle against a foreign power. And there was a lot of backstory, background. Why are we riding dragons? Why are the dragons teamed up with us? That I don't have time for in this video. But it did make some degree of sense. I know many would say, oh, why would a dragon ever let a person ride it? Well, you only need a few good reasons and you can make it happen. And we had a few good reasons. So, as I was saying, Session 1, we come in, we have Andrew Van Roy. He's playing a young half-elf bastard. We have Tyler Centraro. I'm not saying your last name right, Tyler. I'm sorry. Tyler C. Big Daddy C. He's playing the heir to the entire house. And we have Matt. And Matt is playing the brother, the twin brother of Andrew's character. So he's also a half-elf bastard. So these are our 3 players that stuck with the game all the way through. There were others, but I'm not going to indulge in that because we're trying to keep the video short. So Session 1, they get the dragons. And then there's an assassination attempt. The foreign powers are assaulting. They're using elves as their pawns. So we get a little combat. Of course, the characters themselves, 7 years old, level 1, not very useful, but they're dragons. Those dragons, even fresh hatchling dragons, are a pretty significant threat level. And this is where we bring in the fact that you're not only playing your human character, or your half-elf, as the case might be, but you're playing your dragon as well. So you basically have 2 characters. So we had a little combat assassination attempt. I believe Tyler's character got killed off. Tyler's character's dad got killed off, excuse me. The elves assassinate the leader of the house, and Andrew's character's father has to take over because he's the younger brother. He's the next in line for succession. So now we've got Tyler with this rage against the elves with his dead father when he's only 7 years old. He loses his father in front of his eyes. and we've got Andrew and Matt in this situation where suddenly, their branch of the house has gone up in prestige, and yet they're half elf. So the elven assassins, have made them look horrible, but also elevated them. So it was a great start to the campaign. Now, between each session, as I said, we're doing a 7-year time skip. So I'd say to my players, what is the next big life event you want to show? Everybody shoot me an email, a private message. You can say it out loud if you want, whatever you want to do. But what's the next big event? Your character's 14 or thereabouts. What's the big event in their life for this 7-year period? At 14, are they falling in love? Are they having teenage rebellion? What are they doing? And we continued that format. So we had, at 14 years old, the dragon's a little bigger, the character's a little older, 14. And we did have the half-elves rebelling against their father, being ostracized for their race. And we did have Tyler's character, who's just full of rage, and he's dealing with his father's death. And they go out on the hunt with Andrew's and Matt's character's father. They're hunting Tarrasques, of course. So I think I did a video recap for that. Quite excellent. And we get some young love in there as well. And then 7 years later, all right, now you're 21. You're coming into manhood. Your character is getting married. I believe it was Matt's character's wedding was session 3. We saw how Andrew have moved out into the forest and he's embracing his elven roots. And we saw how Tyler is becoming this really elite warrior. And we saw how Matt doesn't care. He's just a man in love. He really loves his bride. And it's a good political union. And we saw the scheming of the elves trying to get in, and the attempt at some elves to make actual diplomatic contact with humanity. And then 7 years later, okay, you're 28, you're established. Tyler has been massacring the elves on the battlefield. We've got Matt is building his family. Now he has children of his own. We've got Andrew who's been studying the mysticism of the elves out in the forest. And we're moving forward with that. We really told the story of these characters and the culture clash between men and elves. I have to get my cat out of the way. Between men and elves, and between our nation of Mu and the Lemurians and their giant magical Gundams or golems, depending on your pronunciation. So we told this whole story. It was great. But what did I really take away from it? What are my lessons? That's so you understand what we did. But now, what did it matter? So from Tyler, I certainly learned that an active protagonist is the best protagonist. Tyler is going around picking fights. He's putting people in line. He's setting people straight. He's active. He's creating plot threads. He's creating intrigue. He's creating drama. As a GM, I can just sit back, relax, let him do his thing. He's telling the barons to get in line. I'm the count now. And those barons who don't get in line like that, he sorts them out like that. And that creates discontent and malcontent and enemies and exiles as some of them flee his wrath. So he's creating all these stories by himself. That was great to have this player who's so active and this character who's so active, and he's doing all this work for me. And he's having a good time with it. Not like it's work, like drudgery. It's great. So that's what Tyler taught me. And Andrew, certainly we had more of a collective experience. Tyler was a more traditional at-table drive the plot experience. Andrew and I were doing more shared storytelling. And I often malign storytelling games, but I did indulge in it. As he would say, oh, what if we do this? And over the next 7 years, my character is going to learn these spells, and he's going to find out how to restore the elven homeland to them. And then, it turns into this. And I have to sacrifice myself. And these are all Andrew's ideas for his character, right? So it's metagaming, it's storytelling rather than pure role playing. But it's going on away from the table. At the table we're in character. Away from the table, in this case, we were engaging in shared storytelling, and it was a lot of fun. For a mini campaign, no problem at all with that. I don't know if for a long-term campaign, I think it would drain the enjoyment. But for a mini campaign, when you can keep it hot, when you can keep everything in perspective, it works great. So Andrew really helped me experience some of that shared storytelling. And that's pretty much my retrospective on it. Those are the two main things that I learned. Is that I gained this experience with storytelling and how it can work, and how if you keep it away from the table, it can complement what happens at the table, and also to try to encourage your players to be like Tyler, to be active, to do things, to spin off their own plots. And if there's a third lesson there, then it's that the tight team really saves the day every time. Because the party never split, they never killed each other, they never betrayed each other. They had badass enemies, and they came together as a group of badasses to overcome them. And when you got one badass fighting another badass, it's pretty hard to mess that formula up. So that's my retrospective on the Dragonriders of Mu. And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.